Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another Supatease video. And in this one, I'm going to be bringing you the best 2v2 composition. And that composition is comprised of a Destruction Warlock and a big damage Resto Druid. I had a blast playing this composition, and as somebody who normally doesn't do twos, I would highly recommend it. This composition does tremendous amounts of damage, has insane coordinated crowd controls and setups, and will absolutely blast people out of the arena. So if you're looking to climb and get some ranks and we get that free tier set piece at 1600 or some of the other cosmetic rewards from PvP, this is going to be one of the best compositions to do it. You can see the devastation that we are unleashing right now against this warrior and resto shaman, which would typically be an expected challenge for a warlock composition. We portal upstairs, we get a fear onto the shaman, we isolate the warrior, we start dumping instant spells, and we're basically waiting before we can get a stun onto the warrior here. He goes for a pre-blade storm on the Shadow Fury, but he can't cancel that blade storm, and guess what? Chaos Bolt's going to fly through while you can't, and I've locked your healer out, and I will absolutely dunk you. Now, one of the best parts about this composition is the Resto Druid build that you're going to be able to play, playing a proccing Tree of Life after 3 Swiftmends, playing a Convoke the Spirits, playing Maim Stun, playing all of the cat form talents basically, and just absolutely crushing it in terms of damage output as the Resto Druid. It's probably one of the most fun things you can do in the game from the Resto Druid pod. But even as the Destruction Warlock, it's super fun because the Druid is setting up stuns for you like a Subtlety Rogue, and you don't need to deal with annoying interrupts. It's just a really good time. Here we got a bash onto the Warlock. We've sent all of our Nether Rifts. We want to get those Rifts on cooldown as soon as possible so Immolate can start refreshing them. And even through Ironbark, we're still keeping up the pressure. Pushing the Warlock back. I see the Druid getting stunned. I'm tossing up an Observer. I'm locking out the Fear, setting up the double Mortal Coil, going for the double Chaos Bolts and just skadunking on him, dropping 2 bolts, forcing Tranquility Shield, offensively gating in, and you can play really aggressive with this composition. You can kind of just dominate anybody that you go against. Haymaker the lockout into the middle, go for a Chaos Bolt onto him, dunk him down below half. Resto Druid's in tree form, struggling, just trying to keep up his teammates. My Resto Druid's out damaging their Warlock at this point. Cyclone over onto the Druid. We've got the Warlock isolated. We're going to fear off that Tyrant, get it crowd controlled, start generating more shards, keep spending those Shadow Rifts, and just building up pressure towards this Warlock. Go for a Shadow Fury onto the Warlock and all the pets. Immolate's loaded up, getting ready for the big dunk here. I've got a Nether Ward, and I've got big, fast casted Chaos Bolts. So at any point here, I can just unleash a huge barrage of Chaos Bolts and take somebody down. We lock out the Cyclone. Interrupting the Druid means that he can't Bark Skin. This is a great opportunity to swap to the Druid. We dump out that fast casted Chaos Bolt, move forward. We can use our wall here to immune interrupts and go for another Chaos Bolt and just absolutely eradicate this Druid as he's pulled back in, getting Convoked the Spirits Dawn and just totally decimated. So we were just advancing game after game after game, like looking completely unbeatable match after match, and I was thinking, like, what's really going to be able to challenge us? Everybody was telling me like Demonology is the best, and it is a very good spec, but I mean, Destruction with Resto Druid in this scenario just felt so good game after game. We were just pushing in, staying really aggressive, staying on top of them, spending the rifts, spending our soul shards on Shadowburn whenever we can't cast. Haymaker was super fun, just blasting people in the middle of the map and then lobbing out Chaos Bolts for 200,000 damage in the middle of the map. I put my ports on other Warlocks' ports and was playing super aggro. I'm pressuring the Warlock while my Druid's killing their Druid. It was an insane amount of damage. Like, if you have not adjusted your 2v2 builds to have your healers, look at this tree form, just spamming Wrath, just boom, 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 boom with these Chaos Bolts, dies through Ironbark. Like, we're doing an insane amount of damage. Like, this is like old school double DPS plus the safety net of having a healer. Definitely one of the most fun experiences. So our first games were looking like really easy, really breezy. We got a Windwalker monk even that was just like pinned at the pillar throughout most of this game, just constantly running for his life basically, up until the end where we got him caught in a coil in the middle of the map. Chaos Bolts blasted at him, and this just became unrecoverable. I'm starting to bully a Windwalker monk as a Warlock. Like, this doesn't normally happen. We started pushing forward, getting fears onto the priest, isolating the monk even further, and then we get a Maim Stun behind the pillar, and we just Convoke the Spirits. Like, I didn't even get a cast there. Like, I didn't even get a cast. Something like, who's going to challenge us? Our MMR is scaling up really fast. We're just unbeatable, winning every single game. We continued to fight Demonology Warlocks, and we continued to dominate them game after game. This one especially, when we got the Shaman and the Warlock, who thought that they were about to win at a certain point in this game, but it just ultimately didn't matter. We waited for our cooldowns, got into a good position, continued to reset these Shadow Rifts, and baited them to overextend a little bit before going for the kill. The main thing is just keep Immolate up on as many things as you can, any of these random demo pets, because look at this. I reset 3 Shadow Rifts. I just send those Rifts at the Warlock. Look at all those lasers. Pew, 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 pew. You get stunned up by the Druid. The Shaman's not even CC'd, bro. He just can't handle the damage. It's too much damage to handle, and we take down another Demonology Warlock. And then we met like one of our first major opponents. We fight a warrior here. He gets absolutely destroyed. In this game specifically, I think I just even went after the priest at a certain point in this match. I just chased him down and was just doing unhealable amounts of damage. Most of these warriors are playing Bladestorm that can't be canceled. You need to note that, so you can just free cast whenever they Bladestorm, basically, because they're not going to stop and pummel you. We lob that warrior over there with the Haymaker. I see the priest out in the middle. Immolate over here. Observer in case he wants to do any offensive damage. We got a fast casty Chaos Bolt lobbed out into the warrior. He's in trouble. I could basically gate on top of the priest if I wanted to at this point, or port offensively. I've got my wall still. I'm trying to fish for fears. We're waiting for barrier to go down, and pretty much after that barrier, they're going to get completely crushed. I offensively gate on the priest, get in line of sight, get set up for a double mortal coil, offensive port. I got my Bane of Havoc out, double coils come out, double Chaos Bolts come out, and you're not recovering from this one. It's not going to be healable. Down goes the warrior, stun onto the priest, and then we faced our first like major opponent here within these couple of rounds, which ended up being Naj on Rogue, Outlaw Rogue Discipline Priest, and this was like, hey, are we going to really be able to beat this comp? Like, this is one of the, you know, stereotypical best comps aside from Hunter, and Hunter was actually the one thing that did best us, but I was thinking this would be very challenging as well. We're just going in with the same type of strategy. Immolate up, go for an early Shadow Fury off the Infernal Stun that forces Cloak of Shadows. The Rogue is thinking like, hey, it's Supatease on Warlock, I can play really aggressive, but it may come back to bite him here. We're fearing the Rogue off of our Druid, trying to protect him. You got to be careful. You always need to back up the other person who's getting attacked. With crowd control, we get a double coil, setting up the Rogue out in the middle of the map with no Cloak of Shadows, but he gets a Shadow Meld. We bash the Shadow Meld. We're sending more rifts, more Shadow Burns, pressuring him down in the D-Yard, Maim Stun. It's basically 2 rifts onto him. We got the Priest out in the open, full fear. Unfortunately, we go to the Pillar here. Generally, Pillars are going to be pretty bad. We almost kill Naj, like, right here in the opener. Like, he almost dies. We get Life Swap just a couple seconds, like, not even a minute into the game. I'm throwing down a Gateway and repositioning my port so that I can use it to kite, because this is a problem if I'm going to be overextending and we're too far away from where my little nest is laid. I port on top of the Priest. I lock his cast. Once again, we get the Rogue so low, almost kill him. We get his cheat death at 3.3%, and I'm thinking, like, there's no way we're gonna beat Naj in like 2 minutes. Like, this guy's spamming Rogue 2s all day, all night, and I just started playing Destro Warlock like last week for this season, and I was not expecting to be this powerful or this potent. So we force him on the back foot again. We get a double Mortal Coil. We get the Priest out in the open. Immolates are loaded out. I port towards the Rogue. Really aggressive port usage. With this composition, we get a stun on the Rogue. I'm going to Haymaker him into the Pillar, try and get him out of line side of the Priest. We get a clone on the Priest, Vortex on the Rogue, pulling him in, Shadow Rifts coming down, chasing the Rogue around, but you just want to attack whatever you can. So this Priest is out in the open. I'm going to hit him because the Rogue is running away. I'm not going to chase. Rifts are ticking away. We get Pain Suppression. Kidney Shot on the Druid means I need to fear. So I'm spamming fear. Rogue's line of sight of me, playing good at the Pillar, but anytime your Druid is CC'd, it's a good idea to fear and protect them for any of these melee attackers just in case. We got a Shadow Fury lined up here. If they kick that, I can Chaos Bolt, fast Chaos Bolt, and free cast it into another Chaos Bolt, almost killing him again at this point at 20% health. I think he gets a vanish off at like 4%, almost dies. I try and Shadow Fury him and stealth, try and find him, and I end up hitting him with it, and he still just barely survives at this point. We get a fear onto the Priest, is 11%, almost no health. I'm trying to get a double coil here with the Bane of Havoc, double coil onto that, but he cloaks it, so he is able to kind of recover, stay at the Pillar, and line of sight from this point. But it's basically close call after close call, desperately just trying to stay alive. I throw in an offensive gate, offensive port, so I can port in line of sight of the Priest, get my Immolates back up. I'm done with this shenanigans. Like, I'm looking to close this game out. I've still got Soulburn Hellstone. I've still got Ending Resolve, so I'm playing a lot more aggressive in this position and just trying to finish them at this point. We get a clone over onto the Priest, bash onto the Rogue, Chaos Bolt comes through, instant incinerates, but we are starting to get pressured, so we're going to use our unending Resolve in this position to try and stabilize through the damage. Dampening's getting high, and they're actually starting to force cooldowns. Look at this, full blind on my Druid. I got like nothing. Soulburn Hellstone comes out. I'm still trying to go for the kill. I port back to the Pillar. I've got a Shadow Fury. I've got to be really careful. I'm going for that double Havoc, trying to get a double Immolate and a double coil to get the double heal, and I get the double Immolates loaded out. My Druid's coming in. He's got a stun over onto the Priest. He gets kidneyed, but I'm able to free cast, throwing out these rifts if the Rogue goes on the Druid, that is. But we're still just lobbing out instant damage. You got an Infernal coming out, and this Infernal should be basically unrecoverable. I'm trying to fake the interrupts, using instant damage in between, porting out of range, and we are able to drop the Rogue finally. So I was very impressed with this composition. It was a super fun 2v2 composition on top of being really powerful with how quickly we kind of scaled through the ladder. And as somebody who normally doesn't like 2v2, I was really surprised with how fun and powerful this composition was. So I wanted to share my initial thoughts and journey with this composition. So maybe you'll take it into consideration for your pushes in your journey for PvP. But other than that, thank you very much for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.